Hello, welcome to Enon Technology. This is a cylinder head from a VHR. Since I've got a lot of questions regarding the VHR heads, what's the difference between a VHR and then the HR or DE or DE rev up? Okay, well, the HR heads and then the rev up heads, they basically work the same way because it has the variable timing on intake and exhaust. But the DE heads only has the variable timing on intake, not on exhaust. But this thing looks a little bit strange. Why it has all this thing right here. So I'm going to show you how this thing works. So for example, this is center heads. It looks pretty big for a overhead camshaft center head. It's pretty tall. It's more like the VTEC one. But anyway, so this center heads, on this side is the exhaust side. Is right here. This is where your exhaust manifold or whatever it's called, the header, goes onto this side right here. On this side, if you turn it around, on this side, which is the intake, this is where you bolt on your intake runner. Okay, this is the tensioner, this is the exhaust, this is the intake. Well, everything's about the same as any other center heads. So this is the trick right here. As you can see it, the heads, this is a center head. This is actually called a VVEL letter. It's kind of different from other heads. So I don't know if you can see it from here. This is the VVEL actuator, which is can make basically it can change the duration and then the lift on the intake cams. Okay, you can see a little bit closer. It has two things right here, this one right here and this one here. So for example, if this is actually on the low or on the high, so it changes. I don't really know how to explain it to you, but it's basically what it does is actually on the different RPM, like lower RPM, it doesn't really need a large duration or high lift to make power because it requires maintain the torque. But on the higher RPM, it requires larger duration and a longer travel on the valve to not let the horsepower fall off. So basically the graph on the dyno is going to be keep going up instead of just like it goes like kind of flat. So okay, this is two assemblies. I'm going to take this apart right now. It's very easy to take it apart. It's pretty heavy though. Okay, hold on. Okay, as you can see here, this is the exhaust camshaft. Over here, it's nothing special. It's like any other overhead cams. It's a spring bucket. Underneath the spring bucket is the valves, springs, and the retainers. So this is the camshaft. There you go. Okay, this is actually called the VVEL letter. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's goddamn pretty heavy. I'll flip it upside down right here. So you can see it here. There you go. Okay, this is basically the loop on the camshaft. It's more like this one right here, but it's in a different shape. This one. Okay, so once the VVEL actuator turns this thing right here, I don't know if you can see it. This is more like the duration, and this is more like the lift. So if I turn it, there you go. Go like this. More lift, less lift. More and less. There you go. So to install the camshaft and adjust the VVEL letter, personally, I don't really recommend you to adjust the VVL letters on it, because if you adjust it, let's just say too much, once the VVL actuated in a full lift mode like that, so you might have a chance to have the valves strike the piston. But other than that, I mean, but you're gonna have more top end. Obviously, the valves travels more, but just honestly not really recommended. I'm not really gonna show you guys how to adjust the VVL letters over here in this video. And other than that, this is the camshaft. It's the same thing, you know, exhaust, valve clearance. A lot of people ask me how to check the clearance. So basically, it's something not really hard. You have to turn the camshaft basically just like that. Make sure this part facing up, and then use your filler gauge to check. Well, you have to torque down all the caps, but on this one, it doesn't really have a cap. It's more like a full assembly. So torque everything down, which is 3 stages. But I only do like 2 stages. I just like hand tie them, like kind of tied, not really tied, but I do like 52 inch-pound in the second stage, and then after that I do 90 pound on the third stage. But the third stage can go up to 104 inch-pound. Well, I mean, this is how you adjust the clearance on it. But yes, you check over here to make sure clearance is good. And also, the reason why I like the VVL as basically the VHR is a lot of people that have problems with like this. The valve cover is now sealing the oil, so the oil gets into the spark plug chamber right here. You see oils right here. Sometimes it can cause misfiring and stuff like that. But for these rev ups or HR, once it's leaking oil inside here, you might have to just replace the whole valve cover assembly, because it's not you can't really just replace the seal. But on the VHR, it's a little bit different. I think they improve it, because on the VHR it has a how do I say, it's like we use this, like OEM, they use the silicone to seal this area. If that shit goes bad, just take it off and then reseal it. It's not a big of a deal. But on top of the VVL letter, it still has a which goes right here. Okay, as you can see here in this area, it has a individual gasket right here. It's like a rubber seal. Once this thing goes bad, you just replace the gasket instead of the whole valve cover assembly. So you can see it. Yes, it looks kind of complicated, but it's not really too complicated. But yes, you have to have some decent amount of experience to do cam jobs on a VHR. Okay, so that's about it for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video.